Oh, well, hello.
Happy Monday.
A very good afternoon to you and welcome to what's probably going to be the first ever live cervical screening, not just on Facebook, but maybe anywhere really.
I think it is.
We're Anna and Katie.
I hope you did have a nice Mother's Day, everybody. We had a nice Mother's Day, didn't we?
We did indeed, did some nice things with the family and kids, and let us know if you're there and that you can see us all and that everything's clear. I'm just hoping that the screen is clear enough there and that you can see us, because we've obviously in a bright studio, in a bright room like this, it can darken our faces a little bit. Now, please do share this video across your social network, because what we're going to be doing today is highlighting cervical screening and how important it is. But before we do that, because you'll see that Anna is sitting ready on the bed with bated breath, we do want to just give you a little bit of an update of what's happening on Channel Mum this week, because it's a really exciting week. It's You Week. So it's going to be all about boobs, down below, dealing with all the things.
Checked. And I think as mums, it's one of those things that we just do not look after enough, is us. We look after our little ones so much, and we look after the family, the home, the running of everything, and so often we forget to look after ourselves. And actually, even if you don't do these things for you, you should be doing them for your family, because what we're going to do today is something that could ensure that your little ones have mummy around for the majority of their lives.
And just in case you're worried, we do have Mr. Tyrone Carpenter on standby.
Katie's not doing
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing the surgical screening.
Katie's not going to perform my smear for me.
I'm Anna's cheerleader, but also to help we're going to be doing all the questions and comments that are coming in. But this week on Channel Mum, some of the fun stuff that's happening as well. Tonight is the first new series of The Real Housewives of Cheshire. So there's going to be a Twitter party at 10 p.m, prizes galore from Channel Mum, #RHO Cheshire. So stick around tonight.
I'm definitely going to join in with a big fat glass of wine after this, I think.
You will have earned it. On Tuesday, SJ is going to be live tomorrow at 11 a.m. She's going to be talking boobs with the charity Copperfield, but also Suki from Sipsy Lingerie is going to be helping talk about how to get the right fit of bra and all of that kind of thing.
And also how to check for lumps, I think, as well, isn't it? Which is,
that's what Copperfield are going to be doing.
I'm definitely looking forward to that, because that's something that, again, we just don't do enough of, do we?
Exactly. Also, we want you to be sharing outfits with #CM Outfit of the Day. On Wednesday, there's going to be a new video on Channel Mum that's going to go live all on contraception. So what do you use? Share, let us know if you had any problems with it. On Thursday, it's the parenting news with the lovely Charlie. She's going to be talking parenting gossip and celeb babies and all of that kind of thing. Obviously, Cheryl's just had a baby, hasn't she? And on Friday,
that one's going to be talked about.
We don't even know what's happening on Friday. All I know is that it's a mesmerising surprise.
That's what.
Who
wrote that?
I think it was Kathy Ranson. We'll blame Kathy Ranson. So that's a Facebook Live at 12 o'clock. Now, housekeeping done. Let's talk why we're doing this, because obviously we know cervical screening is important. It was actually the anniversary of Jade Goody's passing last week, so it's kind of timely that we're doing this week with Channel Mum. We know it's important that we need to get our smear or cervical screening done, but the numbers have dropped drastically. So we want to talk about why it's important to do it, and why have you agreed to do this?
It is a really, really sad thing that numbers have dropped, women going to get their tests, because here in the UK we only do cervical screening and smear tests every 3 years, which is so much less than many other countries where it's done annually and even every 6 months. The reasons why I personally said yes to doing this, because believe it or not, it's not something that I jumped at the chance to do.
It's not something we ever thought we'd do together.
No, it's not, is it? I had asked Katie to be my birthing partner if none of my family members had been there, but I never thought.
I thought, phew, I got away with that one.
We might be together while I have a smear test performed. But there is a few really strong reasons why I'm doing this today. One is that I actually had one of my first smear tests when I was younger, came back abnormal. It was quite a frightening moment for me to read the letter saying that something wasn't quite right. I then went and had checks done, and I needed to have laser surgery on my cervix, which in my head was quite a frightening thing. I built it up to being something awful, and actually when I then went on and had the laser surgery, it wasn't such a big deal, and it wasn't something that I should have got myself worked up about. Unfortunately, I then had another abnormal smear, which luckily by then I was having them 6 monthly. I went back again and I ended up having to have a colposcopy. And I wanted to do this today because if there's one person out there who's had the letter reminding them to go for a smear, please book yourself in and go and do it. Because if I hadn't responded to that letter and gone for my cervical screening when I was younger, I might not be here today to make this live video for you, because I might not have had the treatment that I needed to have on the abnormal cells. So please, 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 I'm doing this for you, not for myself, not for any other reason. I'm doing this to encourage women to get themselves tested, get your smear test done, book in for cervical screening.
And that's all of you watching right now. So after this video, please do book your appointment. Check that yours isn't due. Maybe it's lapsed. Maybe you should have had it a year ago.
And many more reasons. We have friends and family. My granny died of cancer down there. It spread throughout her body. And once again, get in there and get tested. My mum also 2 weeks ago travelled to France for the funeral of a very good friend of hers, and she came back from the funeral and phoned me because I'd actually asked her about doing this and said that I was considering doing it. And she phoned me on the way back from the funeral and she said, you know what, she'd looked at her friend in that coffin and she knew that had her friend been getting the regular checks that she was offered, she might not have been in that situation. And
she might not have been here.
Yeah, it's it is something that can save lives. Going and getting your smear test and your cervical screening done, not something any of us love the idea of, but it could save your life.
Yeah, let's face it, I'd rather be off having a pizza somewhere with some friends, but pizza's not going to tell you whether you've got abnormal cells, is it?
Not how you can just turn this whole thing round into
food.
Yeah, pizza chats.
Pizza chat. Well, listen, we want you to share your stories in the comments. Let us know if you've gone through any of this, or you know anyone that's gone through anything that has been perhaps tougher than just getting your cervical screening done. But without further ado, let's start getting this on the move then. We are here at the BMI Harbour Hospital, and consultant and gynaecologist Mr. Tyrone Carpenter is the man who's going to wheel in on his stool. Consultant.
Gynecologist extraordinaire.
Absolutely. Now, you're not a stranger to tell you. We've seen you on embarrassing bodies before, haven't we? Not being treated, though.
No, I'm rather short, not that embarrassing.
Now, we're going to talk about through some of the facts. Now, around 3,000 women a year are diagnosed with cervical cancer in the UK every year. What would you say to anyone that was nervous about getting their smear?
Well, it's completely understandable. As Anna said, it's not the sort of thing you would rather have. You'd rather have a pizza. However, hopefully we're going to demonstrate by the end of this that it isn't so bad, and actually we'd prevent 80% of cancers if people went along and had their smears. So it's a minor price to pay for an absolutely huge benefit.
Now, we're going to be sharing some of the facts that Joe's Trust, who's a charity for cervical cancer support in the UK, they've been supporting over 7,200 women in 2016. They've raised over £1.7 million in support. And we've been looking at a lot of their facts on their website as well, which is really helpful. It's a really good source to go and read about some of the, any of the details that you might want to find out more about. Can we talk about what you're actually looking for? Because you're not looking for cancer, are you?
No, we're not looking for cancer. We're looking for, at the moment, we're looking for cell abnormalities. So these are pre-cancerous conditions, so before one develops cancer, and it allows us plenty of time to treat them with a very, very high cure rate. So effectively, we're taking some of the cells off the cervix, they go onto a slide, and someone can look at them under a microscope and they can say whether they're normal or abnormal. And depending on how abnormal they are, they may be tested for HPV, which is human papillomavirus, and then depending on the results of those, you may well be referred in for colposcopy. But we're not looking for cancer, we're trying to prevent cancer before cancer.
Now, 200,000 women will get an abnormal result in the UK. That sounds massive, and that's going to be a real panic for a lot of women, because a lot of them are going to think, oh my gosh, what does this mean?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, does it?
It doesn't. I mean, that works out about 5% of all the smears that are done. So although it sounds an enormous amount, actually pushing it in proportion, 95% of ladies have their smears. There'll be nothing further than a further smear in 3 or 5 years, depending on your age. However, of those that are positive, as I said, it's a screening test looking for precancerous changes. So it doesn't mean you've got cancer. Very, very few will have. It basically gives us warning and opportunity to treat anything before it develops into cancer.
And can we talk about the HPV virus? Because it's actually 4 out of 5 people, not just women, 4 out of 5 people that will have that virus at some point in their life. What is it? How is it that people don't necessarily know that they've got it?
Well, HPV stands for human papillomavirus or Wart virus. There's lots of different versions. There's over 100, and we give them numbers, seroverse. They're called, the ones that we're in are 16, 18, 31 and 33, and they're the ones that are associated with abnormalities of the cervix. As you say, most of us have had HPV, encountered HPV at some point in our life, and the majority of the time we just clear it as we do with any other infection, and that's all done. A few people, however, it becomes what we call a chronic carriage, so you keep it and it hangs about, and if it's those high-risk varieties, that's more likely to cause abnormalities of the smears and then subsequently more risk of cervical cancer.
Now, the women that are most at risk are women aged 35 and under, is that correct?
Of contracting HPV, yes,
right.
Indeed, yeah.
But of course, they've got to be sexually active, really, to be getting HPV, don't they?
For sure, yeah.
So, you know, is that going to be scary for people thinking, hang on a second, does that mean I can't have sex, or I shouldn't be having sex with more than one person, you know?
I think that must add to the stigma as well.
Yeah.
For some girls who perhaps don't want to admit that they are sexually active as well, it adds to the nervousness of
going to have it done.
Is it 25 is the age?
Yes, we start at 25 now in the UK.
And so should that not be younger? Should we not be testing for this younger?
It was younger, it was 20. However, the reason we moved to 25 is abnormalities of the cells of the cervix are very common as you're moving from puberty into early sort of womanhood. And those abnormalities can be misinterpreted as dangerous abnormalities when they're just normal. And there was also a small risk with treating slight or abnormal smears, and therefore the chances of having a significant cervical cancer before 25 is almost non-existent, but the chances of finding something insignificant and then over-treating with the risks of that is more hazardous. So at 25, even if you had started to develop problems before, we'd have time, plenty of time to get it treated. So that's why it's moved from 20 to 25.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having, there's so many comments already.
And loads of people watching, this is so great.
Lisa Marie Macon has written, this is awesome to be highlighting this. My friend passed away at 26. She was asking for a smear prior as she had some concerns. Unfortunately, it was too late and she left her husband and young son.
Yeah.
That's why we're here today, to encourage anybody. If you think something is wrong, push and push and push to get seen by your doctor. And sometimes you know something's wrong with your body, and this is the same when you're a parent. You know when there's something wrong with your baby and you go in and you fight to get that baby seen to. I've done that, but so often we don't fight for ourselves when something's wrong. If you think that something is not right, please go back to your doctor and tell them that that's how you feel. We've talked about this morning, haven't we? How we've left things because you go to the doctors and they say it's fine. Don't. Get back in there if you think something's wrong and try and do something about it.
Talking of
so sad.
GPs as well, you know, we're in a very smart room today. You know, often when you go to your GP, you won't be on a chair as kind of fancy as this with the stirrups. It might just be that you're,
hang on a second.
Hello.
Might be me.
Don't worry. Shall I get it? I don't know what I'm going to say to them, but shall I get it? Hello. I'm in the middle of a cervical screening. You're live on Channel 1. What was I going to say? Yes, so you'll be in a GP office and they're most likely to just have quite a simple bed, aren't they?
That's right.
And you'll just lie with your legs.
You don't need this sort of setup, it's just we have it here because we do colposcopy here and more complex things. But yes, in a GP practice you will have a standard bed and it's perfectly normal. That's the normal way ladies have smears.
Yeah.
We do hundreds of thousands every year and they're not on something swish like this.
Right.
Swish.
Are we ready?
We're going in for the swish smear.
Are you ready, Anna?
We are indeed, yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you the iPad.
So, first ever.
I don't know whether
Do we need to
camera might need to be...
Shall I turn? Oh, let me see. Just... Okay. I can always... I'll put it back. All right, everybody. Thanks so much to everyone that's joining us right now. Hello to Laura, Lisa Marie Macon, Emma, Claire, Jamie, Lisa Lum, Kerry. Lots of stories coming in. I mean, it's just awful to see that people have lost.
I don't think
Can they? Do we need to
rather than me
change
jump
the
up
angle?
without any
Anna's
without
modesty.
anything on.
I'm just going to give this a bit of a... There we go. Is that better, everyone? Give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up, hearts, love, share this post, please. We want to make sure that everybody in the UK is going to highlight this because, of course, you know, we lost Jade Goody 8 years ago last week, and it shouldn't take another high-profile celebrity case for this to be talked about again. You know, we need to be talking about it ourselves all the time. And also I want to say hello to Marilyn, who's going to be assisting today. Thank you. Right,
So,
will you talk us through it?
Yes,
Tell us what you're
so to do a cervical smear, you, as you would imagine, have to look at the cervix, and that sits at the top of the vagina, and it's the neck of the womb, it's the neck of the uterus where the baby lives and where your periods come from. To do that, one needs to use an instrument called a speculum. That is a speculum there. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. We sometimes have plastic ones and we other times have metal ones. There's advantages of both, which I won't go into. But in a nutshell, this is placed in the vagina and we gently open, which allows us to see down the end, and we can see the cervix at the end. Once we've got the cervix in view, we have, it's called a cyto brush. And this is a little brush with little fine little hairs at the end. It's very soft, it's non-painful, and effectively it rotates around so that we can scrape some of the cells off of the cervix to go off for analysis. Once we've done that, Marlene will show you, that then they get washed off and they go into that little pot there, and then they go through clever preparations so that they can be inspected by the cytoscreens, who are the people that look at the abnormal cells. So, without further ado, what I always do is warm the speculum up because I'm very kind.
Lovely.
Not all GPs will do the same.
And this isn't, I don't think there's anybody who doesn't feel a bit horrible about going for a smear test. It's horrible when you get the letter saying it's time to go. I've had smear tests done with babies strapped into pushchairs, and I've just drawn the curtain across and had toddlers on iPads and babies in pushchairs because I haven't had people to look after them. And it's just really important that whatever the situation is, we get this test done. And yeah, it's not nice, it's not a particularly comfortable thing, but it is painless. It's certainly not as painful as getting your waxing done, for instance, as Charlie pointed out this morning.
And certainly not as bad as if you leave it and
Exactly.
the worst case scenario happens.
Okay, so what we do is just gently place the speculum into the vagina, and then gently open the speculum, which
This is the bit that feels a little bit uncomfortable. It feels like quite a bit of pressure down below, but obviously that's something that we're kind of used to with pelvic floor exercises and having babies and things like that.
Okay, so I'm now looking at Anna's cervix, and I have my little brush, and we basically pop that onto the cervix, and we literally just rotate it round several times.
Again, I can feel that. It's not desperately comfortable, but it's certainly not hurting me at all. It just feels like a tiny kind of brushing inside, but it's really not hurting me at all.
So that's finished. That goes into the specimen, and Marlene shakes that around to get the cells off, and then literally remove the speculum. And that's the smear test completed.
Well,
Job done.
so that was as easy as they get.
Well done, you. Can I probably just have a little bit of a handshake? Round of applause for Anna. Can we get a load of hearts and thumbs ups and loves for that? Because that was great. And Tyrone, that you did make that look so
Thank
cool.
you. That was not painful, and I really hope that any women who are slightly afraid of going and getting their test done, be it your first test or be it your first test after having a baby as well, because I know after having a baby or having 3 babies, it feels like you're just so messed up down there in every part of you. And I guess you've seen some quite, bashed about. Do you know what? It's a horrible thing
through the wars.
It's a horrible thing to get that out. It's a private area. It's something that isn't easy to share, that part of your body. And especially after having babies and feeling like, I mean, gosh, it just feels like a train's driven through you sometimes. I think to expose that to anybody is tough.
But as somebody that's actually a gynaecologist, you're not even thinking about that, are you? You're just thinking about getting the job done.
Getting the job done, having a look at the cervix and taking the smear, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we went quite slowly there, really, because Anna was describing, but really, it would have taken 10, 15 seconds. I appreciate it's not the most comfortable, but it's a really short.
And now about my designer vagina that I was going to book him for on the back.
Yeah, I think.
How long would that take?
We can't make any better than it is. It's all right.
There we go.
Now, after you've had a baby, there is a length of time where you can't be having your smear. Because I know I got my left when I had Ivy, and I'd only just had her, and now I know I need to go and book mine in, which I will be doing. I promise.
No, I need to check what mine's due as well. I think.
Well, I can give them to get some results.
I don't know where I am with.
Yeah, but when should you be?
So you need to wait till any what we call local loss of pregnancy settle down, and give it several months after you've had the baby, because the cervix has to effectively close back up, having had and delivered a baby through it. So till everything's settled down, is several months after, but not too long.
Well, there's so many people just championing this and saying, "Well done, Anna," and this is, you're amazing, and this is brilliant. If there's been so many comments, though, I don't know if there's been any specific questions for Tyrone, but I know that I think Joe's Trust are going to be answering some of the questions, and you might be able to go on later, possibly go and answer some questions. Let me have a little look through. Is there anything else that you think we need to highlight to our audience on Channel Mum?
Not really, just the importance as you are of having these. They're not the most comfortable, however, they are relatively quick, relatively painless, and the amount of benefit you derive from it. It's hard to think of many other things in life that provide so much benefit as having these and avoid such a horrible illness if it isn't diagnosed early.
Well, Cheryl Figgins says having a sweep is more uncomfortable than having a smear. So if you're wondering, trying to remember what it's like to have a smear,
That is, I can vouch for that. Yeah. Just what I've just done now is nothing like having a sweep. Just, when I was desperate to go into labour with my babies, that hurts.
It doesn't help that it's called a smear as well. I think that puts women off because it doesn't
that.
sound nice.
Katie can't bear them.
It's up there with moist. It's just one of those words. It makes you just kind of go a bit, oh. So, it is referred to a lot more now, though, as cervical screening, which I think gives it a better name, don't you think? Do you agree? Thumbs up for that one? Let's see, I had a baby and a 5-year-old with lots of questions at my last smear, says Lucy Roberts. Well, so you've taken the kids to yours, haven't
one
you?
strapped into a pushchair and the toddler sat there on an iPad and no big deal. Again, it's just... It's
not unusual.
It's easy and quick.
I thought you were going to burst into song there.
More the merrier. I've had Katie on my smear today.
You've had more than just me, Anna. Everyone's in there. Poppy Jones says that she's had 2 abnormal smears and she's only 27. Get your smears done, ladies, she says.
Wow. It's so important.
Yeah, again, just lots of people saying, if you're under 20, or Nicola Herring says, if you're under 25 and have any irregular bleeding, please go to your doctor and demand a smear. This is what Anna was saying earlier. Fight for that smear if you need to.
The friend of my mum's who just died, that's exactly what happened with her. She was having tiny amount of spotting. Do you call it spotting, or is that just dogs that do spotting?
No, you talk about spotting, yeah.
Listen to me, the gynaecologist.
Dogs.
No, dogs do spotting. Yeah, if there's any blood at the wrong time of the month, then please do go to your doctors, because that's exactly what happened to our family friend. She'd gone to the doctors, they told her she needed to have her smear, she didn't go for her smear and ended up ended up at her funeral.
The classic symptom for cervical abnormalities is post-coital bleeding after sex. That's the main issue. So if you have that certainly needs looking into.
That's definitely worth highlighting.
Wow,
post-coital bleeding.
Really important information there. Yeah. So if you do have any bleeding after sex, there's your trigger there.
Absolutely. Again, just loads of people saying that this is a great thing that's happening today. Anna Snape says, I had CIN3 a number of years ago. What's that?
So, the abnormalities that we look at in the cells are called cytological abnormalities, and we grade them as mild, moderate and severe. And then if you then go to colposcopy. We have a look at the cervix and we take a biopsy of the cervix. So we actually, rather than just looking at the cells, we look at the cells and their structure and how they're built. And they're called CIN, the abnormalities 1, 2 and 3, or it's called cervical intraepithelial neoplasia. So that's, using medical jargon, that's
yeah, write that down, spell it.
Using medical jargon, that's a histological diagnosis, that's a piece of tissue, as opposed to cells, which is cytology. So cytology, which is your smear, is the screening, and that looks at the abnormal cells. And then you go on, if they're abnormal, like you did, and you have a colposcopy, and we take biopsies, and that gives us the CIN grade.
And then I had to have something cauterised that.
Yeah, so
that?
basically, if we have high grade, that's CIN2 or CIN3, then we deal with those cells basically because they're abnormal. And nowadays we tend to deal with them with a thing called LETS, which is large loop excisional transformation zone, which is basically a little hot wire. The surface is completely numb, and you basically just move a small amount with those cells in it, send it off to be checked. And they check, 1, that you've got it all, and 2, that there isn't, and it isn't any higher grade than you thought. And then subsequently, you go back at 6 months and you have what's called a test of cure. You have a further smear and they check for HPV. And if you're HPV, high risk HPV negative, you go back to the normal screening program because that's done, treated, full stop. If you're HPV positive, then you stay under further surveillance.
And I think, because once you've had an abnormal smear, I don't know if I'm right or not here, but yeah, then you're going in for 6 monthly smears after that.
Well, that's changed. That's changed. So in the old days, everyone did. Nowadays, you have that test of cure at 6 months. If you're cured and there's no HPV, you go back to routine screening. If you're HPV positive, you then stay on high surveillance screening. Now, next year...
Because for me, that was actually really reassuring. Going back every 6 months, when you've had an abnormal smear and you've been told that there are abnormal cells and you've had your treatment, to then know that I was going back 6 monthly was massively helpful. Do you think it's enough every 3 years in this country?
Well, so the 3 years has, again, it's all... not to blow smoke up there, the UK screening programme, but the screening programme in the UK is the most successful screening programme on earth, basically, with regard to services.
Wow.
And that's because we get very good coverage. Ideally, you want more than 85% of your population covered, and then you will make a big difference. That's dropping, as you outlined, which is part of the reason we need to promote it more.
To highlight it.
But because it's all done through primary care and it's an automatic call and recall system, we have the best rates in the world. Now, you can cleverly map out effectively the rate of progress of a condition. So, if you have a normal smear, you're HPV negative, and then you contract HPV the next day, you will still be okay by 3 years if you're screened then. So that's why the screening programme is such. It's worked out on the sort of what we call latent phase, the natural history of the condition.
So it's not actually an awful thing, because we've been, having looked through all the stats and things like that, we've been...
It's like friends from like France and places like that saying, we get ours every year, this is disgraceful that you don't.
And the lady who did my waxing, actually, before my smear, she's
prepped.
from Russia. I did. She's from Russia, and she was just saying it's unbelievable because out there you have a gynaecologist. You can see your gynaecologist anytime you like, every 6 months if you so wish. And she was saying that it drives her mad that we only go every 3 years in this country. So it's lovely to hear that actually it's not.
The way they test does vary across the UK, doesn't it? So you can, I think on the Joe's Trust website, there is a link to be able to see how it works in your area.
Well, yeah, but there is a national screening programme. That national screening programme has the 3 years. So in Scotland, they screen a bit earlier.
Okay.
The rest, so England and Wales, it always starts at 25, and it's 3 yearly through to 50, and then it's 5 yearly, providing your smears have been normal to then, and we stop between 60 and 65. Now, within the next 2 years, the whole thing is going to change again. So, actually, within the next 2 years, the screening, the first thing it will do is look for HPV virus, not for abnormal cells.
Okay.
So, what the test will be run, and the HPV will be checked for. If it's positive, then the cells are looked at. And if the cells are abnormal, then you get sent up for colposcopy. So it's going to be turned completely round the other way. Instead of having an abnormal smear and then looking for HPV, you'll be looking for HPV, and then you will, if necessary, the cells will be looked at and you may be sent for colposcopy. So it's going to be a complete change in the next couple of years or so.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered the lot there. Again, big well done to Anna for doing this live on Facebook. Massive thank you to Mr. Tyrone Carpenter and to Marilyn, who's standing behind me.
She's waving. Please do watch again, like,
Tag
share
friends,
and comment
share,
this video, share it, because you might just be sharing it with one of your friends who hasn't been and got checked. So save lives by sharing this video.
And a big thank you to the BMI Harbour Hospital for allowing us to film here today. And yeah, keep those shares happening, and don't forget to keep up with what's happening with Channel Mum, like the page and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care.